Come and dream with me.
Hello and welcome to What Do You Want to Watch, the Explosion Network's premier media podcast. Every fortnight we get together to talk about movies, TV and online content, help you answer the question, am I really just a CGI character created for this podcast? No, I'm not a CGI character. Brett Goldstein, the actor who plays Roy Kent, is not a CGI character. Internet, what are you doing? I'm your host, Ashley Hobley, though. Joining me today, Dylan Blyant.
Can I just ask, was that a legit thing? Because I didn't look too much further into it other than seeing. But were people legit, or was it just a meme?
I don't know. I assume it starts with people being legit, and then it becomes a meme.
Yeah, okay. Because I was like, are people really thinking that it's a CGI cut? I mean, the more I say it out loud, the more I'm like, yeah, people probably do think it is, though.
Yeah. You know, the lack of emotion, I think, is what gets people. But, you know, people are really wrong with it. I saw people do fake CGI effects, fake models, like people in green screens pretending to be Roy Kent. It's pretty
nice. With deepfake, I guess anyone can be Roy Kent.
That's true. Yeah, although the best one was Brett Goldstein addressing the controversy, but having like the emoji face or whatever on his camera. Pretty great. Alright, on this episode of What Do You Want to Watch, we'll be discussing what's our watch history, covering a little bit of news, giving some thumbs to trailers, and discussing this week's top 3. But we'll kick things off with a bit of like self-promotion. Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings is out in cinemas only now, which we'll get into later in the show. Me and Dylan have both watched it. We did a spoiler cast over on All New Marvel Cast, the Explosion Network's Marvel MCU podcast. Full spoilers through the pod. But Dylan, do you want to give people your non-spoilery thoughts of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings?
It's really good. It doesn't feel like it's a Marvel movie for the most part, and then that's why it makes it so good. Not to say that Marvel movies can't be good Marvel movies, but often it's just refreshing to have something that just feels like a generally good fantasy movie, or in this case, sort of a martial arts fantasy movie. I was appreciating it more the other day. Someone did a thread and was like, here's all the creature designs and like the real history behind them and stuff. I don't know if you saw that one. I was like, oh, this is like kind of cool, like how it was making a lot more sense.
The real thing.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So there's a reason for all these things. And this isn't a spoiler. You can see some of these things in the trailer, by the way. So I'm not like spoiling anything. But the martial arts, the fight scenes are surprisingly good in it. The characters are all fantastic. The actors are all really good. There's great chemistry between all of them. You want to see them all return for another movie from top to bottom. The villain is not your stereotypical Marvel villain where it's just like, oh, I want to rule the world because reasons. Like there's a reason behind what they're doing and why they're doing it. So that's obviously a thing I complain about with especially older Marvel movies. It's just the villains being sort of just, oh, take over the world, revenge, blah, 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 boring. All that sort of stuff. I think the only real negative I have, the more I thought about it, so I talked about the spoiler cast. There are some pacing issues sort of in the middle. I think there's like a 20-minute section where I say it should have just been like sort of sharpened up. But then I was rewatching Suicide Squad late last night, right? Because it dropped. I just brought it digitally so I could watch it. Yeah. And I think watching that so soon after Shang-Chi, I was like, it stands out how much more that movie was just actually shot on a location somewhere. And I mean Suicide Squad over Shang-Chi, because there's so many scenes in that where Suicide Squad looks weirdly more realistic and alive, even though it's got a shark walking around in it and stuff like that. It's just, it has a very sort of lived in vibe to the way it's shot and stuff. And Marvel movies often just have that sort of plasticky thing to it. And I think that's the other thing. It just stands out, especially when you get to the last area of that movie, Shang-Chi. It's like that area just doesn't feel as alive and like a real place and tangible as some other movies do. And yeah, I think it's just something of having just watched that other movie. I'm not trying to say like DC's better than Marvel, but like comparing comic book movie to comic book movie, I think that was just one thing that sort of stood out to me. But I really do like it. I gave it an 8 on Trakt. I'd even give it an 8. I'd be pushing towards an 8.5. I don't know. But yeah, it's really, really good. And I did enjoy it.
Yeah, I
Great
really
soundtrack too.
I really enjoyed it as well. I thought, great new Universal section of the MCU for us to explore going forward. Similarly, really great as the lead, Awkwafina good as the comic relief and kind of sidekick. Tony Leung, great villain. Definitely a more interesting villain than we've seen so far. But yeah, you need to see this for the action sequences and the fights and that crazy third act. Somehow they made these 10 rings work. Yeah, made it a viable thing. I like the way they kind of rewritten the canon of that Mandarin character and made it more realistic and up to date. And there's some fun cameos and like comedic bits and that kind of thing. But it might be a Marvel movie, but it definitely feels like one of the like a crazy Asian fantasy film with like a bit of martial arts stuff thrown in. So if you can see Shang-Chi, go see Shang-Chi. If not, 45 days apparently after release it will be on Disney Plus. So I guess we'll wait and see, and we'll get back to talking to Shang-Chi later in the episode. The other one, we did a spoiler cast for The Witcher, Nightmare of the Wolf, a prequels to The Witcher. Dylan,
yes, Netflix's The Witcher series.
Netflix's The Witcher series, yeah.
It's really good. It's I think it works a lot better if you're already invested in the Witcher season 1 and you're getting ready for season 2, because it's basically setting up Geralt's teacher, I guess, or like the leader of sort of the Witchers, or which is a character we're going to meet in season 2. So this sort of just gives you the backstory of that character, while also giving you the backstory of more of the Witcher universe and how witches were perceived, thousands of years prior to where the show is currently taking place, and what their sort of heyday was like, or the dwindling heyday was like, and how we get to the remaining, I think it's like 5 witches or around that, whatever, that including Geralt, that are around, that we'll be meeting. I think we're supposed to meet all of them in season 2, like the full motley crew of his brothers or whatever you want to call them. So the animation's really good. There's a lot of really cool fight scenes and stuff like that. So yeah, I really enjoyed it, and for meme, another. Okay.
Yeah.
From the first 4 meme, it was a classic meme before the Ragnarok memes took over.
I mean, it doesn't really work in audio form, but it needs a visual behind it. Okay. I really enjoyed it as well. I think very well animated by Studio Mia, a great animation studio. Just filling in a portion of the Witcher mythology that kind of informs what we could potentially see in season 2 of the Witcher live action series. Sort of explaining why there aren't so many witches anymore, and why the witches, why they were needed and that kind of stuff. So I thought it was really interesting, and hope to get more animated Witcher stuff in the future. Good voice cast, cool action sequences, stuff that they would have been very difficult to pull off in live action. So they kind of took full advantage of the format when they're making this one. So yeah, definitely check that out on Netflix. All right, let's move on. Dylan, you checked out the Nia DaCosta directed Jordan Peele's Candyman. Now, Dylan, I don't know if you know this.
Mm-hmm.
It's not actually called Jordan Peele's Candyman.
It's just called Candyman.
I thought it was called Jordan Peele's Candyman, much in the way it's called Tim Burton's Nightmare Before Christmas, because Jordan Peele's name was put in front of Candyman so much in the articles I was reading. But no, it's just Candyman.
It is just Candyman, which is surprising, yes. even though I have still, even though the movie's out now, I'm still seeing people tweet about it and go, like you read these tweets and the only name they mention is Jordan Peele, and people rightfully in the comments are still being like, Nia DaCosta directed this motherfucker. Like, why do we like? No offense to Jordan Peele, but
I mean, maybe we're getting to a stage where we thank the writers for stuff now. Is that what's happening?
The meme. It's kind of like Candyman. We've kept this joke alive for so long that I feel like we've helped sort of perpetuate the thing at this point. But so obviously I was really, really looking forward to this movie. I very much liked the original movie. So I don't think I've mentioned this. So this probably doesn't mean anything to you because you don't like horror things. But growing up, I was a big Clive Barker. Do you know who Clive Barker is? Do you know
He's
the author.
Yeah, horror writer and director.
He's a horror, yeah. So like most famous for, I guess, Hellraiser.
Yeah.
Among many other things.
That's the guy with a bunch of pins in his face, right?
That is the one. Not my personal favorite Clive Barker book, though, if anyone wants a bit of trivia. My favorite Clive Barker book is one called Nightbreed or Cabal. So, anyway, side tangent. So, I really liked Candyman when I was in high school, and I went on this big Clive Barker thing, and I was definitely much more into Clive Barker stuff than I was like Stephen King or whatever else. So I was very keen for this. I found it disappointing, which I don't know if this is a hot take. I've seen there's been some sort of mixed reactions, I guess.
Reactions, yeah.
I just think it gets lost. It kind of gets lost with what it's trying to do, and it's I don't know. It just really doesn't come home with what it's trying to say. Like it gets so focused. So the original movie, I guess, for better or worse, because there's these themes at play in the movie, but they're sort of in the background. You can watch it, and a lot of people did and just viewed it as a slasher film without any second thought. This one, the themes and focus on because the whole idea is basically it's like a evil black man handing out lollies to children becomes a killer, Candyman, blah, 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 blah. But then when you delve into it, it's like the who, what, where, why, and sort of like, it delves into the myth and how I don't really know. Anyway, it's a whole thing to get into. I guess if you've never watched the movies, but the thing with this one is it focuses, I guess, a bit too much on trying to land its themes that it kind of just gets lost as a movie, and it just sort of goes from scene to scene trying to do something, and it's never actually really scary. And at times, it even feels like it just has sort of kill scenes in it. Because it's like, oh right, I'm a horror movie. I guess I better kill some people. I lost my English there. I guess I better kill some people. Like there's a scene that's in the trailer which you see all these girls standing in front of a mirror, like high school girls, like doing the whole Candyman thing, which just feels really weird. Like when it's in the movie, it's like we don't really ever meet those characters or talk to them, and that's not like a random scene that opens the movie, which usually makes sense in horror movies where you see like random characters get killed. It's just sort of like amongst what's happening, let's just have a bunch of girls get killed because oh yeah, that's right, it's like a Candyman horror movie. Yahya Abdul-Mateen is really good. He just gets his character just starts out sort of annoying, and like his performance is good, but I just couldn't really vibe with his character. And I don't know if it's sort of half the point because like he's this struggling artist who basically grabs onto this story early in the movie about Candyman, and then he's like wants to create a story about the exploitation of the black man, but then he's like sort of exploiting the story, I guess, for his own art. Like there's like a whole, you can sort of peel back the onion like several times on what's happening, and I guess that's sort of the point of the film because there's like a lot of symbolism and stuff, and I think it's all very obvious. Like none of it's really laid back or gives you much to think about. The movie sort of just lays it all out, but it just doesn't land. Like I just feel like it goes from scene to scene, and it's just not super engaging. I just never really felt like I was into the movie at all. I wasn't bored. This is the weirdest thing about the movie. Like, I wasn't bored, but I just constantly felt like I was waiting, like I was on the precipice of being into the movie, and that was the entire run. Like, if you click play on a movie the first time and you get that feeling where you're like, oh yeah, like, are we going somewhere? And then eventually usually movies like do something within that first like act or whatever, first 15, 20 minutes even or sooner, we're like, cool, I'm in. But I felt like that for the entire movie. And then the credits was rolling and I'm like, okay, you never really got me. Like, you constantly like had me so close to get to taking a bite of this carrot or whatever and like being into this, but you just never really got there. And I think I fell further back. Like, the last third I just thought was really messy and I didn't like it at all. The direction it sort of goes, but can't win them all. It's not bad. It's not a bad movie. I just would say I was sort of let down after being excited for this one and like this potentially being one of the year's big horror movies, I guess, or genre films. So I was sort of let down, but that's just me. I know a lot of people are loving it, saying it's better than the original and whatever else. In my 2 cents, obviously, I would say the original's still better. Even though this is a sequel, by the way, this isn't a remake, it is a sequel. It's done the whole Halloween thing where they just called it the same movie and it's a sequel.
Okay. Yeah, it's been interesting to see the reactions online and people obviously being a bit divisive, but different strokes for different folks and that kind of stuff. So, yeah. Candyman currently in cinemas, probably coming to premium on video on demand soon. I checked out the new series that's dropped on Disney Plus. Only Murders in the Building. So this is
sounds like a Disney show.
No, so it's a Hulu series, set to be 10 episodes, starring Steve Martin, Martin Short, and Selena Gomez. It's about these 3 residents in a New York apartment building, who come to realize they all love the same true crime podcast. After they get evacuated from their apartment building one night, unfortunately find out, after bonding over their mutual love of this true crime podcast, which they're detailing theories and what's actually happening, turns out someone in their apartment building has been murdered, or as the police call it, suicide. So this trio decides they're going to start their own podcast, detailing their investigation into their suspected murder of this resident within the apartment building. I'm really enjoying it so far. Obviously, Steve Martin, Martin Short obviously have a great lineage of work they've done together. They're really funny. And Selena Gomez, she's a solid upgrade for Chevy Chase at this point.
Not hard, to be honest.
I think they're doing a good job of keeping the laughs, mixing the true crime elements of the story with the comedy that they obviously want to bring to the story, keeping the mystery going. I think a bit of a spoiler, but at the end of the first episode, it turns out that Selena Gomez's character knew the victim, was they were childhood friends and that kind of thing. So, but the others don't know that, and that's kind of a running thing through the first 3 episodes, which are now out. So, I would definitely recommend checking out Only Murders in the Building, which is the title of the podcast, because here's the thing: there's a murder outside the building. And they said we should do a spin-off podcast about that, and I said no, we should just focus on the one thing, fools.
I was about to say, are you just watching this show, just thinking about the meta podcast stuff?
I mean, it kind of it's kind of, Martin Short's character buying all this equipment, really expensive equipment, over the top. Come on, you can just get a small microphone and a laptop. Just trying to get investors in the podcast, crazy.
These fools.
Dylan, you finished watching the first season, I guess, of White Lotus. How did it all come together?
I'm not going to spoil it, but I did. I think people should watch this. This show, it's if you heard me talk about it last time, I really don't know how to pitch the show. It's just really good writing. It's really good acting. And there's really a lot of the time, like, so I finished watching the last episode, and after knowing that a lot of people had problems with the finale made me very angry. Not because I think the show was bad, but because of decisions characters made me quite angry. I think that it's good writing, but yeah, it's good writing, but it just makes you angry because you understand why the characters did what they did, and it kind of makes sense for the point of the show and what the show's trying to say, but it still just makes you angry because you wish those characters hadn't made the decisions. So as soon as I finished watching it, I Googled White Lotus because I was just going to like see if there's a Reddit thread or something to see people like if there's complaining or what people are saying. And the funniest thing to me was, you know how Google has those like 3-4 auto search, like sort of drop down top questions or whatever.
Yes.
If you type in something, the top one was, "What is the point of White Lotus?" ? So to which I say, I don't really know. I mean, it's a show breaking down a certain class of people, I guess. Yeah, that's primarily the idea. But it's really good. It's definitely in my top TV shows of the year, for sure. It's on that short list. I don't know what they'll be doing for season 2 because originally it was a mini-series or one-off or whatever, limited series, and now they're doing it as a anthology.
Couldn't
So
they
I'm
just
like,
be new guests at the motel?
No, I don't think that works. I think it has to be a completely different thing. I just wonder if the continuing theme is just sort of rich horrible people or something similar to that, or they can change up the themes, or if it's just this, or it's just Mike, whatever his name is, just having a TV show platform to do sort of limited run shows, and he can kind of just do whatever he wants or something like that. But yeah, it's definitely one of the best shows of the year in my opinion.
Ooh, high praise. All right, let's move into the mandatory Netflix segment of the show. So I checked out the new series on Netflix, The Chair, created by Amanda Peet and Annie Julia Wyman. Follows Professor Ji-Yoon Kim, who's the newly appointed chair of the English department at Pembroke University. And it pretty much follows the major professors in that who work in that English department at the university, starring Sandra Oh as Jin Kim and Jade Duplass as her friend Bill Dobson, who was the previous chair, but who stepped down after his wife died, and is kind of struggling throughout this season. It's very short. It's only 6 episodes long. The episodes are like 20-30 minutes. So really, it's pretty much a 3-hour movie broken up into 6 parts. Yeah, I quite enjoyed it. I think they're going for some bold themes around what it's like to teach in universities at the moment. A big plot line throughout the season is J.J. Plass's character is trying to teach these students about absurdism, and in the process decides to do a Hail Hitler sign, which is recorded and then memed and spread throughout the entire internet, and then is thoroughly protested. And then, kind of trying to explore the idea of how do you discuss some of these topics. But because of the show's length, it doesn't really get to go too deep in that. And there's no, to be fair, there's not much discussing with some of these kids. I think it doesn't paint the students in the most flattering light. They're very one-sided, and it definitely makes the teachers seem like they're the aggrieved party in most of the situations. But yeah, I enjoyed it. I think Sandra Oh's a great lead, and her chemistry with Jay Duplass is really good. And he looks like he's having a good time. A bit weird seeing him when you normally just see Mark and all these things. So, yeah, great other supporting cast members, particularly Holland Taylor, who plays an aging professor. There's also one of the first things is the dean of the college tells Sandro that she needs to make cuts, especially all the older professors, and like she spends most of the season trying to get these professors to like update their class loads and be a bit more friendly, like student friendly and that kind of stuff. So
Friendly.
Appealing. That's probably a better word. So students actually want to come to their lectures about 18th century letters that Americans sent to each other. Because that's the kind of stuff they study in English apparently over in America. So yeah, The Chair, it's an easy watch. Like I said, less than 3 hours, so good time. Weird cameo in there as well from a certain celebrity as well. So yeah, all right. I also checked out Bob Ross, Happy Accidents, Betrayal and Greed. This is a documentary about, obviously, the beloved painter, Twitch superstar, Bob Ross, and kind of detailing his...
I forgot this was out, by the way. But it was I remember reading about this. I was like, oh, this is out.
Yeah, it details, it definitely follows his career and that kind of thing, exploring like the start of everything, start of his series, The Joy of Painting, kind of a look into his origins and that kind of thing, but it also runs along kind of explaining the main crux of it is that the company or the partner he had in Annette Kowalski through the several years that they were doing Joy of Painting and that kind of thing, kind of took care of the business side, and then subsequently screwed Bob Ross over in death. Is pretty much the end point of the documentary. So even to the point where apparently, allegedly, they were asking Bob Ross to sign over his name on his deathbed. Something that, Bob Ross didn't want to do, but they found a way. And now, you probably shouldn't buy any of that Bob Ross Incorporated merchandise or art supplies or any of that kind of stuff, because it's all kind of tainted and, not great. I think, this is one you should definitely watch, even if it's just to get angry at the kind of people behind it. I saw afterwards on Twitter, Bob Ross Incorporated put out like a message downplaying the documentary, saying it's all lies and they weren't. Although they got asked to be interviewed, they didn't know Netflix was involved. Otherwise, they would have given more strongly worded statements and that kind of thing. So, it's not a good. It's not very flattering for Bob Ross Inc. And it'll be interesting to, I guess, see if there's any further fallout in the coming weeks around that one. So, yeah. Otherwise, it's a solid documentary. I don't think it's anything mind-blowing or revelatory, but, Bob Ross obviously was an important person to a lot of people. So to kind of understand the person behind the memes and that kind of stuff, I think, as an Australian, this was a good documentary. So, yeah. Check that out on Netflix.
How long is that, by the way?
Sorry?
Is it just a 90-minute one? Or is
it's about 90 minutes, I think, also. So, yeah, it's not too long. Last episode I talked about Untold, the Untold series. What was the first one?
Is this the sport thing?
Yes.
Yeah, whatever that's called. Yep. Untold something.
Yeah,
Stories. Tales.
Yeah, I'm just trying to remember what the first one. So the first one that I watched was Untold: Malice in the Palace, the one about the brawl in a basketball stadium. So this one that I watched was called Untold Crimes and Penalties. So it follows a alleged mafia person who bought a minor league hockey team for his 17-year-old son to manage, and the trials and tribulations of their one season in the hockey competition before he gets raided by the FBI and gets taken away to jail. The team is the what was it? I can't remember what the town's called, but the team's called the Thrashers because he runs a trash distribution company. So it's the Trashers. Got him. Yeah, and they pretty much set themselves up as being the bad boys of hockey, by pretty much getting into massive fights every single match, pissing off the league and all this other stuff. Really interesting watch. Like, it's just the kind of a weird story that has no right to be no right to have actually happened and that kind of thing. Full on cheating, the equipment manager doing pretty shady shit, turning off the hot water for the opposition team and not giving them enough towels when they come in and that kind of stuff. Kind of interesting stuff. But it's weird that obviously this main guy has been convicted of massive crimes, but he's being treated like a hero through the entire documentary. But yeah, I thought it was really interesting.
Doesn't sound like a real thing, to be honest, but
it doesn't sound like a real thing, so that's what makes it more interesting. Even to the extent, apparently this guy is who Tony Soprano was based off. So I don't know.
From that?
Allegedly, because he did have actual mafia ties and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I would definitely recommend this one, just because it is such a bizarre story and they have people who were involved, fans of the team, who still hold fond memories of that team and their season. They did really well this season. I think they they got pretty close to winning the comp and that kind of thing. So, yeah, pretty interesting story.
Was that Caitlyn Jenner one out yet or no?
Yeah, that one's out already. I think that was a couple of weeks ago. So, not really terribly interested in watching that one, but just
I thought that was the biggest one that everyone was.
I think it's obviously the most high profile one. So, yeah, again, Untold, pretty good series that Netflix has got going at the moment. Dylan, you checked out The Mitchells and the Machines. No, you checked out The Mitchells, versus the Machines. What do you think?
Oh, how good is this movie? Animated movie of the year, right?
I think so.
I mean, what else is it's either that or Raya, I guess, is my...
it's going to be Raya and Luca, I would imagine.
Yeah, I mean, personally.
Yeah, personally.
Luca's not in my top two. Yeah, those are two. But yeah, it's really good. I think it just kind of the final act is it's okay, but the majority of the movie I enjoyed the most was the first, I guess, 2/3. If I had to pick why Raya would potentially win, it was probably because I just thought the last act was kind of it was fine, it wasn't bad, but yeah, if you don't know, if you haven't watched this movie, it's absolutely insane. It's got this fantastic cast of characters. It's really stylized, and not annoyingly, it just kind of works in the movie and the way they're trying to just portray it, with the girl being a filmmaker, sort of crazy indie filmmaker who's just making all these things with her pug. It's pug, right?
Yeah.
Using a dog to make all these movies, and the dad doesn't understand it, but everyone loves her, and she's going off to film school, but then all of a sudden these robots, which is basically Apple, break out and they begin taking over the world or whatever. So it's up to the Mitchells to somehow stop it, even though their family is completely dysfunctional. It's really, really good. I had a great time watching this, and it had been sitting on my watch list obviously since it came out. I was going to watch it before the end of the year, so I'm glad I got that out of the way, because, yeah, straight to I did that thing where I, finished watching, I'm fuck, that was good, and I, rechecked IMDb, I was what year did this come out? This was this year, right? And I'm see, it says 2021, I'm God, good. That's straight onto the short list for one of the best movies I've watched this year, and definitely one of the best animated ones I've watched here. A lot of fun. Really, really enjoyed it.
Awesome. Good to hear that you finally watched it and that you actually liked it.
Why do you think I wouldn't like it?
I don't know. I was pretty confident, but part of me would have broken if you had liked it. I think.
No, really good.
Be like, do I know Dylan at all? To finish off, I watched another documentary on Netflix available at the moment called Count Me In. It is a documentary about drummers over, and kind of exploring, what draws people into drumming, kind of a short history of drumming within popular music. They've got a fair number of big name drummers like Roger Taylor from Queen, Chad Smith from Red Hot Chili Peppers, Cindy Blackman, the drummer for Santana and Lenny Kravitz, Keith Moon, the drummer for The Who, Taylor Hawkins from Foo Fighters, whole bunch of people kind of talking about their passion for drumming and that kind of stuff. It's fine. It's like a pretty surface level-y documentary. It's just some short stories from each individual. I don't know. It's a perfectly watchable documentary, but you could definitely have it on in the background. There's not much to it that you need to pay attention to and that kind of thing. So, if you like drumming, certain people who are listening to this podcast maybe check it out. But other than that, not a must watch. All right,
you've sold everyone.
I'm really glad I did. All right. That's everything in our watch history. Let's move into our film news segment. Kick things off. Shang-Chi looks set to break box office records over in America. Set to be the largest ever Labor Day weekend box office with a projected, at time of recording, a projected $75 to $85 million over the 4 days, with an estimated $67.8 million over the 3-day weekend, which would make it the third highest debut this year, behind Black Widow's $80.3 million and F9's $70 million. Dylan, I don't think I asked you, what sort of size was your cinema when you went to see Shang-Chi?
Maybe 20 people.
So,
that was the 6 o'clock one, and might have been busier at the 8:30 one, but yeah, it wasn't compared to Black Widow, which was.
To be fair, we did go see it the Wednesday previews.
That's true, so that might affect it. But yeah, I remember Black Widow, which didn't have a Wednesday preview, and it was just Thursday opening night. That movie, that was sold out.
No, we went to Wednesday previews of Black Widow.
Was it?
Yeah, because we recorded Wednesday night.
Okay, then yeah, that one was sold out, and that was a 6:30 showing as well. So to compare, if that was, because we recorded that, yeah, it definitely wasn't 8:30
with something, yeah.
Yeah, because it definitely wasn't 8:30 as we was recording a podcast at 1 a.m. by the time we got done. But
yeah.
So if that was a 6:30 one, this was a 6:30 one. At least in little old Lonnie, Black Widow was the winner.
That's where we gauge everything. Mine was not full, but there was a fair number of people. I'd say maybe more than half full, a reasonably large VMAX cinema. Yeah, which is pretty good, I thought. Do you think this is those numbers? Obviously, it's hard to say because Labor Day weekend is not a well-known money earner over in America, but $80 million over the weekend for $63 million over the 3-day weekend, third highest opening weekend of the year. What does that tell us, in your opinion?
Oh, it's just been really surprising, I guess, that everyone thought it was sort of going to bomb. And I think a lot of people were hoping it would bomb to prove Disney, to show Disney that they need to put it on Disney Plus, for the people who. I know it's a weird thing because, I get caught in a weird position with a lot of these arguments about the cinema versus Disney Plus thing, because I'm like, half Australia's in lockdown, and I don't want people in New South Wales going to the cinema, but I'm like, I want them to see a movie, and then also, of course, the same with Victoria, and Wait, what the fuck else is locked down fully at the moment?
New Zealand, I
Parts
think,
of-
maybe.
Yeah, New Zealand, I guess. So, but I mean, like, for example, our own Kieran Marchant couldn't go see the movie because Victoria's still locked down. He can't go see it. So I wished he could have watched it, but at the same time, I'm glad that people are going to watch it where they can. It's a weird thing. I'm like, don't go watch it in certain places, but in other places, I'm glad people are watching it to prove that cinema is still you know what I mean? Like, it's just a weird.
It is this really weird situation. I think people who have been able to go see it are kind of in. Like, I saw like someone put like out a call to Disney the other day to put it on Disney Plus because half the country's in lockdown. I'm like, I do want you to see the movie, but also I want to preserve the cinema experience. You know what I mean? It's kind of this weird spot for cinema lovers, because I saw someone all sorts of reactions, but someone like pretty much saying, "I'd much prefer if all movies were day and date because I have crippling anxiety and can't go into the cinemas." And it's like, is releasing, in cinemas exclusionary to a certain extent? I mean, it's it just kind of raises a whole bunch of difficult questions, but then we also don't want to lose the cinema industry, which is currently hanging on by a thread all over the world, and is like the thing that's kind of held up movies for the last century and a bit. So
Yeah. I mean, I see all these things, like, even I watch you see like Patty Jenkins going on about these movies, all that, and everyone getting upset about that.
Which, you should read her full interview before
Well, it's always just the headlines that
of
people
course,
cut out and then they get angry about. And then I watched the Dune press conference thing from Venice. It was Venice?
It was Venice, yes.
Yeah, I watched that the other day because they actually just streamed that, and I watched the one later for whatever that Christian Stewart movie is. I watched that one as well. Spencer. I watched both those. Anyway, the Denis Villeneuve's up there, and of course he's like, Dune, cinema. Like, I understand it's hard times. Like, he said all the right things, but you can tell he's like, you watch my movie in the cinema, please. And then all these reviews start coming out, and all that. I've just read the headlines. I haven't actually read any of the reviews because I kind of just want to go in as blind as I can, I guess. But
difficult
like
task.
all the Twitter headline, whatever, for the tweets with people's reviews, good or bad, people are like, this movie's a monster on the screen, and like, it's one of all the really positive reviews I've seen. The headlines of people saying really outlandish things like, this is the most invested I've been in watching, like, getting just lost in a cinema screen since like watching Star Wars for the first time. Like, really, like, all right, you want to go that far, kind of, like that sort of stuff. But
maybe you've been deprived of movies on a big screen for a while.
for a while, yeah. But like, I'm reading stuff like that, and as someone who likes going to cinema, like that sort of stuff, I don't know if they're full of shit or not, but that does make me go, oh boy, I can't wait to watch Dune. Whereas if I know it's weird. We have this conversation all the time because I'm like, I want to fence it to a degree because sometimes I feel like the director's saying stuff about go to cinema, or like, you're ruining our movies by letting people watch them at home. I'm like, if people want to watch them at home, or like it helps more people watch a movie at home, then I'm all for making that an option, and it just has to cost a premium to help keep the movie business kicking and help keep the theaters happy with the production companies and with the whatever else, so everyone's like getting their money and shaking hands and being happy. But at the end of the day, I'm still just going to be on the side going, movies are better in the cinema, like, and 90% of movies are going to be better in the cinema. Not to say all movies, like, there are certainly movies I watch where I'm like, could have watched that at home, wouldn't have made a difference, like that wasn't really a big screen movie. But most of the time I want to watch movies in the cinema. That's just how I fall. So am I happy Shang-Chi's doing well in the cinema? Yes. Am I happy I watched it in cinema? Fuck yes, it was awesome on the big screen. Great soundtrack, awesome fight scenes. Why the fuck would I want to watch that at home? I got a nice TV. I have nothing against my TV. You know? I quite enjoy my Sony television set. It looks really nice with 4K movies. Ain't a cinema. Ain't no fight.
Yeah, it's definitely an interesting one. Because it's to a certain degree, it's a question about choice, and like, do you give people the option to watch it at home, day and date, with the cinema, the film in cinemas? Obviously, we assume Black Widow underperformed because it was available on Disney Plus, to buy. I feel like Disney is the only company at the moment is kind of like trying a few different things to find out what is the best strategy going forward. Obviously, they've gone with Shang-Chi and Free Guy, cinema-only release. They've both done very well in cinemas during the rockier part, especially compared to Black Widow. I feel like, obviously, the number of COVID cases is much worse now than it was when Black Widow came out. Although, on the other hand, I just saw, America celebrate because they had a massive college football game where it seemed to be the entire stadium was packed out. So I don't know how seriously they're taking it. And, it seems to be a lot of mixed messages when, you can't go into a cinema for fear of COVID. You can go into this massive stadium.
Even like watching AEW, right? Wrestling stuff and whatever else. And, all the wrestlers, apparently all the wrestlers have to be fully vaccinated, and that's just how they're doing it. And they're like, I guess, supposedly checking fans or whatever. And then some places they've got this rule where, like, to get in, you have to have had at least one of your shots, or like some people. I don't know, it's just very confusing. But then also America has this stat where they're at what, like, I don't know, somewhere above 50% entire country's vaccinated or some shit, aren't they? I can't remember what the exact number is, but that's why they've reached a number where they started trying to kick things back off, and then now you got the Delta variant or whatever. It's just very confusing.
Yeah, it's definitely a weird one, but yeah. I guess you got to continue to do what makes you comfortable, but you can't fault these companies for wanting to make money and like not showing it to the most amount of people that they possibly can. I'm sure a certain amount of exclusivity has a certain cachet to it, and that's why a lot of these movies make a lot of money on the first weekend, because like you can only see it in the cinema. That's how Endgame made so much money, how Avatar made so much money, and that kind of thing. So, I don't think cinema chains want to give up to that exclusivity, and the studios probably don't want to give up that exclusivity. But I guess we'll see going forward, especially once if things ever go back to normal. It's kind of a weird one. I guess kind of on the tail of COVID, we've saw, like I said last episode, we did see a lot of delays of films here in Australia. Of course, films like Jackass Forever and Top Gun got pushed to next year, and a lot of things. But I want to mention, obviously, we have Dune that is going to be released here sometime in December, but it's currently still slated to release October in America. And No Time to Die is set to release here in Australia. I think November sometime, but it's still, releasing over in America in October. Does stagnated releases of big box office movies work anymore?
No. Everyone's just going to... So this is... I think I've talked about this previously, like last time episode or whatever, but here's what happens, and here's why I just think it's dumb. So they don't want to release these movies into cinemas because half of Australia, New South Wales, Victoria, wherever else, New Zealand at the moment, the biggest lockdown places. I'm counting New Zealand as part of the Australian conversation.
Most people do.
They don't want to release movies here because they can't go see them in the cinema. I understand these are big parts of the country, like the biggest cinema going cities, you know, in the country between Sydney and Melbourne. It's like, okay, I get it. The problem is, and there's no way around this, is that they'll delay these movies by a month, a couple months, whatever. By the time they release them in Australia, everyone in lockdown, maybe not everyone, but I would say a majority of those people in lockdown go fuck it and they pirate it. And they will watch it. And then you're losing money anyway because some of those people may have happily gone to watch it in the cinema. Don't care anymore. They've seen the movie. Moving on. What's next? Give me a new movie. You know, like they watch Dune now. Say Dune was coming out next week and they delayed it until like November or December or some shit. It's out next week in America. Someone uploads a pirated version. Everyone watches it now. It comes out in November. We're out of lockdown by then. You know, knock wood, cross fingers, whatever. Everyone goes, I saw this months ago. Where's the new movie? I don't care anymore. So, in my opinion, as much as it's like kind of it sounds like I'm sort of shitting on people who can't watch the movies in these states or whatever. I just think that it's just put the movie out and then people who are going to pirate it are just going to pirate it anyway. Because if you don't put it out, and then the people who can watch it in Australia will go watch it and can watch it and can support it in cinemas. Because if you don't do that, then then just everyone pirates it. I think that's just how it works. Sounds mean to say because I'm like, well, the people who can't watch it, but like it's nothing to do with them and me being like, I deserve to watch it because I'm not in lockdown. It's just more like from a business point, I just think it's making some money over no money in my mind anyway.
Or some money over less money.
Yeah.
Yeah. I tend to agree. I think, especially with these big box office films, like smaller stuff, like, of course, we'd love to have been able to see Pig and the Green Knight at some point earlier than now. But I don't think there is that same... I think, obviously, Australian audiences have been trained to wait for those smaller indie releases. And most people are, like, willing to wait.
I have, living here, trust me.
Yeah, have you seen Minari yet?
Pig limited release. I'm like, yeah, limited, right? Yeah.
Yeah, so I think, but like the big massive releases, like I saw somebody tweet the other day, because they couldn't go see Shang-Chi, they just read the Wikipedia page and moved on. And like, how many other people are like that? They'll just find out what happens, so they, they don't get spoiled and never buy a ticket version or rental.
Because it sounds like I'm overreacting or whatever to say stuff, but it's like in this day and age where there's so much content and like, and I hate to say content to cover everything, but I mean like between YouTube videos, fucking TikTok, movies, Netflix, like I just mean like anything you can sort of devour, add in video games or whatever else you want. People at home, especially if they're stuck at home now, like they're just going to, if they can't watch it, they will fucking pirate it, they'll read Wikipedia page, and they'll move on with their life to the next thing because there's always something else. Every single day, there's a new movie, there's new shows, new fucking YouTube fight. There's like always something. So if you're not just, you can't do that shit these days. I just don't think it works.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I guess we'll see how the numbers pan out for No Time to Die and Dune. I expect they'll probably still do reasonable compared to.
Dune was never going to do that great in cinema anyway, because just go look at Blade Runner 2049.
But also it's releasing day and date with Warner on HBO Max, which, Denis Villeneuve is probably still rolling over at sleepless nights every night, imagining people watching it in their iPhone, just, making fan vids of Zendaya. I guess that's just the world we live in at the moment. So, go see these movies when you can, and don't read a Wikipedia synopsis of a film that you actually want to go watch.
So, my side note, my brother does this, where he'll read the entire Wikipedia plot of a movie, and then based on if he likes the plot of the movie and the outcome, he'll then decide if he actually wants to watch the movie.
Wow, what's it like living with a monster?
It's why I never talk about him, because I just don't consider him family. So
Wow. All right, let's touch on some other stuff. We've got some news on the Netflix Guillermo del Toro anthology series that's coming. It is set to be called Guillermo del Toro's Cabinet of Curiosities, and they've come up with they've announced some talent involved. People like Jennifer Kent, director of Babadook and The Nightingale, David Pryor, director of Empty Man, Guillermo Navarro, director of Godfather of Harlem and Narcos, Keith Thomas, director of Firestarter and Vigil, Panos Cosmatos, who directed Mandy, Catherine Hardwicke, director of 13 Lords of Dogtown and Twilight, Vincenzo Natali in the Tallgrass by Ice Cube Hannibal, and Anna Paul, director of A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night, Mona Lisa and the Blood Moon, and The Bad Batch, named as directors of this anthology series, with actors like Essie Davis, Andrew Lincoln, F. Murray Abraham, Tim Blake Nelson, Crispin Glover, Ben Barnes, Peter Weller. Yeah. Did you see the news around this one? Are you excited for the Guillermo del Toro anthology series?
Yeah, I'm excited for Guillermo del Toro anthology series. That's a sentence that makes me excited for things. All the people involved are people I like. A bunch of those movies and directors I'm fans of. So I'm keen, obviously, to check it out. The best thing about these anthology series is you can watch a couple episodes and you quickly find out if they're, like, even if one's shit and the next two are really good, you're like, cool, we got something happening here. Some of these anthology things you watch and it's like every episode's sort of average, you're like, whatever, like no point. Or if they're all bad, whatever. You know, I could take hit and miss in anthologies. I can't take all misses, but with the talent involved, I expect to be good, at least something. But I like anthology stuff. It just gives, especially when they're it gives people who mostly movie directors or whatever just a chance to play around with a sort of smaller budget and time frame to do something that they just wouldn't be able to do in a bigger scale, or wouldn't want to do on a bigger scale, I guess. So it's always fun.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, obviously, we're having kind of this anthology series renaissance in the last couple of years. It seems like every genre getting its own anthology style series, probably on the back of American Horror Story, kind of within anthology seasons. But yeah, I think it makes sense to have like Guillermo del Toro kind of overseeing this series of episodes. And yeah, the talent involved, really cool. Like, obviously horror stuff is not my thing, but I like a lot of those names I would recognize and like, oh cool, that's a cool person to have involved in your Netflix projects. It's like, yeah, I think yeah.
I'll say the number one name there, Jennifer Kent.
Yeah,
just consistently gonna support her and whatever she's doing, because obviously shout out to Australia. But then also it's just really good to see someone like her who's went from like a really weird horror movie with the Babadook that was received really well, even though on paper you wouldn't have guessed that movie would have got as popular as it did. And then The Nightingale, which is horrific, a really horrific but well-made movie, and it's hard to watch, but she sort of stuck to what she wanted to do with that movie. Like, I'm happy to see her going from that to working with Guillermo del Toro on a anthology series, and that's really cool. So
yeah, definitely. So look forward to that. I think it's releasing late this year, otherwise early sometime next year. So look forward to that. And then we got confirmation that DC Fandom is coming back for another year, and we're set to get trailers for Batman, and some behind the scenes stuff for The Flash, and a sneak peek for The Flash, behind the scenes looks at Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom and Shazam: Fury of the Gods, along with a bunch of TV stuff. Looks at the Peacemaker series, the limited DMZ series that's coming out, looks at the new animated series, Aquaman, King of Atlantis, Batman, Cape Crusader, and the next season of Young Justice. Dylan, is this a good move for DC? Having this kind of... Obviously, they've got a big enough pool of content for them to warrant a massive digital event.
It was really good last year, so I got no complaints about it coming back for another year. Like, between the movie TV stuff they showed off last year and the game stuff, which, it's just more of that this year. It was really good, and I like how they did it. They had one night, two night, they just sort of replayed it, and you could, if you missed it, you could watch it again, and the way it was sort of spread out. I liked it, so I'm keen. I'm keen to find out most of the stuff. The thing I'm most excited about is just the Batman trailer. That's certainly top of my list. That's like one of my most anticipated movies coming up next year, so very excited to see that. And then I don't know, I don't really fucking care about Aquaman at this stage, to be completely honest, but the rest I'm down for, and even some of the animated stuff. I watch every now and then. I pick one of those animated ones to watch, even though at one stage I watched all of them. I kind of fell off, but yeah, okay.
Yeah, I'm definitely excited to see some more content. Obviously, if we can get a first idea of what that Flash movie is going to look like and what what is actually happening, who's in it, I feel like that would be a pretty good get. But yeah, if we get another in-depth look at the Batman, that'd be pretty cool, as well as I think Shazam's finished shooting as well, so I would be surprised.
They did. What's his fuck? The director tweeted out a thing the other day saying they finished shooting or wrap production. So, and
Black Adam as well, I believe, is finished as well. So, wouldn't be surprised if we see bits and pieces of that. So yeah, DC Fandom set to be take place October 16th. So not far away at all. Yeah, look forward to all that good DC content. Again, I'm keen to see also a trailer for Peacemaker, like especially after Suicide Squad. I'm like, what is that even going to entail? What is that even going to be?
Having just rewatched the Suicide Squad, yes, I'm very keen to see a trailer for Peacemaker.
All right. Let's move into some thumbs for trailers, our segment in which we give thumb ratings to trailers. And of course, you can check the show notes below or the episode up on explosion.com to find all the links to the different trailers. The first one we're going to talk about is Wheel of Time, the new Amazon Prime series based on the Wheel of Time series by Robert Jordan, developed by Rafe Jukins, starring Rosamund Pike, Joshua Stradowski, Marcus Rutherford, Zoe Robbins, Barney Harris, Madeline Madden, Daniel Haney, Rain, I want to say, a member of a magical organization takes 5 young people on a journey, believing that one of them might be the reincarnation of the dragon. A powerful individual prophesies to save the world or destroy it. Dylan, what do you think of the Wheel of Time?
I've heard of these books, right?
Yes.
They're very famous. I think there's like 26 billion of them or something. So I know of the franchise. I knew nothing about it, and this trailer didn't really help explain what the fuck is going on. But it was a really cool trailer, so double thumbs up. I'm excited to at least check out the pilot episode, decide if it's just a cool trailer and a shit show. But everyone looks really good. Rosamund Pike is quite a get for, I think, a show like this. I didn't know she was, I don't know. Seeing her in something like this, I think adds a bit of credence to it or something. But everyone at the moment is just trying to, the other thing I was thinking watching it, like everyone's just trying to get all the Game of Thrones likes or the replacement, or no one's yet to hit the Game of Thrones replacement buzz. And I feel like a lot of these shows is just trying to be the Game of Thrones replacement buzz. Like,
I think we're going to get a lot of them in the next 12 months. Like, they finally, obviously they knew they were going to finish up 3 years ago. And, it's taken a little while for them to make it on top of COVID. So, I think maybe we'll start to see, obviously, this one plus Lord of the Rings. The big competitors And then, of course, we've got the Game of Thrones actual prequels, which will see if they could succeed.
They're not happening.
And where else? I can't think of any other of these massive fantasy shows that are set to...
But they keep coming, like...
I mean, they had, like, Shadow and Bone on Netflix and that kind of stuff, more YA kind of stuff. Yeah,
It's not even like a sword and shields and fantasy thing. It's just massive universe with, like, a lot of characters that makes me feel like it's trying to go for that Game of Thrones audience. Or spot. But yeah, double thumbs up. I'm keen. Don't know what the hell was happening, but it was a good trailer.
It didn't really sell it for me. I don't know. I don't think they gave enough information or gave enough visuals or anything like to get me invested. I think it's going to be a one up, one down trailer for me, but I'm definitely keen for more, and I'm definitely going to check it out when it drops on Amazon Prime, which it will on November 19th. So, yeah, I just don't think, like, they barely gave you anything to really grasp on other than a setting, Rosamund Pike, and a bunch of kids I don't know, so... Yeah, there was very, very little to get me invested in this trailer, I think, so... Alright. Next one. Doogie Kamealoha MD. The new series that's a spiritual successor to Doogie Howser, starring Peyton Elizabeth Lee, Kathleen Rose Perkins, Jeffrey Bower Chapman, Jason Scott Lee, and Ronnie Cheng. Set in modern-day Hawaii, Doogie Kamealoha MD plays Leia Doogie Kamealoha, a 16-year-old prodigy juggling a budding medical career and a life as a teenager with the support of her caring and comical Ohana and friends. Leia is determined to make the most of her teenage years and forge her own path. Dylan, what do you think of this trailer?
Ray Chang was cool, hey.
Yeah.
Shout outs. One up, one down for that. Otherwise, I would have been like, nah, fuck this shit. This is definitely not a Dylan show at all. It's a kid's show. Doogie House is the show that I have no care for at all because I didn't grow up with that being a thing I was watching, even though I know of it. I hate that this is a spiritual successor in which the trailer makes sure to mention characters being like, oh, she's like Doogie House in that show or whatever. I was like, come on, that's a bit corny. Let's just you didn't need to do that. That felt weird to me. But and also, I just don't like shows set during hospitals.
Oh, interesting.
I like watching hospital shows. I just don't like hospitals. I like hospitals in their horror movies when they're meant to be scary. I don't like watching shows where hospitals are just sort of workplaces where normal people work. Okay. They're not. They're freaky. I don't like it.
Medical dramas at all.
I hate medical dramas. I couldn't even watch Scrubs. That's why I never got into Scrubs. I don't want to watch it. So,
wow, what a revelation!
Not watching it.
Wow. Yeah, it's a one up, one down for me. I thought this was going to maybe be a bit set at an older demographic would be my best way of summing it up. It definitely feels a lot more teeny than I was expecting it to.
It's just a reboot, but they're mentioning an old show for some reason. But I'm like, you're targeting a new audience. Just basically just make it a reboot. Like, why bother? I mean, just pretend it's a show.
They're just
pretend it's a new show.
Premise. Yeah.
Yeah, I know. But like, it's just like you're not targeting adults with this who watch the old one. It's obviously just
everything
targeted
needs to be based on something. So, but yeah, I'll probably check out the first episode or two. Like, it seems like she's got an interesting family. Like, her father seems like an interesting character. I need to watch everything Ronnie Cheng's in. And as long as there's not too much of this weird teen drama, it feels like. I will say the opening of her saving a dude on the beach with like makeshift things definitely feels like the first episode of The Good Doctor, which I watched a couple of years ago. Almost moment for moment exactly the same. It's kind of crazy.
You know what else I will say?
Yes.
Ronnie Cheng has entered a short list of people who, within Exposure Network lore, is sort of becoming his own character where we, like, for people who don't even know who he is or have never watched anything he's in, don't know who the hell we're talking about half the time, but like anything he's in, even if it's a bit part, we're like, shout outs Roaching, you know, like it's just like that. Was that 3-4 seconds he's in
Godzilla?
Godzilla or whatever? Like,
yeah.
shout out Roaching, yeah. It's like,
I mean, yeah, he's gotten a lot of work. You know, I think all these things filming in Australia really helped.
yeah, that's true.
All right. Next trailer. Belfast. This is a film directed by Kenneth Branagh, starring Katarina Balfe, Judi Dench, Jamie Dornan, Kieran Hines, Colin Morgan, and newcomer Jude Hill. Belfast is a personal and joyful story about the power of memory set in late 1960s North Ireland. At the center of the film is Buddy, a young boy on the cusp of adolescence whose life is filled with familial love and childhood hijinks and a blossoming romance. Yet, with his beloved hometown caught up in increasing turmoil, his family faces a momentous choice: hope the conflict will pass, or leave everything they know behind for a new life. So this is currently premiering over at Telluride Film Festival over in America. I think there's like 3 different film festivals currently going on at time of recording. So, you know, a lot of reviews for different stuff that could potentially be stuff we talk about awards-wise, currently showing at those 3 festivals. I thought this was a really good trailer. I thought, obviously, set New Ireland, kind of in that weird period. I don't know the exact history of that. Some sort of, obviously I don't know much about Irish history. I knew there was some kind of like Protestant Catholic disagreement. Disagreement is probably not a good word, but you know,
it was the North versus the South.
Yeah, there was definitely conflict at the time. But yeah, kind of an interesting look at that kind of thing. Obviously, it's filmed in black and white. I think it looks very pretty, you know, and it's, you know, I don't know, just the characters and kind of the dialogue kind of drew me in. So I'm going to give this trailer 2 thumbs up. Dylan, what do you think of Belfast?
I really, really liked it. It has beautiful black and white cinematography, and that's sort of what grabbed me from the outset of the trailer. And then I was getting into the story. I quite enjoy. I've watched a lot set during this time period. Weirdly, the more I sort of think about it, I've actually watched a lot of movies and TV shows.
England guy, so
yeah. So
kind of
I mean that is one. Yeah, one. But I mean, I've watched a lot of other shows and stuff. That's, I don't know. The more I was realizing when I was watching this, I'm like, really watched a lot. So like it's a period that interests me weirdly. I guess I don't know why. But yeah, it looks really good. The acting looks great. Great cast. Kenneth Branagh, I enjoy him more when he's doing movies like this compared to some of the more fantastical or like bigger sort of Hollywood movies. He just does a lot better when he's not trying to direct those sorts of things and he's just doing more down to earth, human focused stories, I guess. So yeah, double thumbs up. I really did enjoy this trailer. I'd never heard of this movie. I didn't know this was Branagh's upcoming project. I wasn't aware of what he was working on. So I went into this. It's a Kenneth Branagh film. I'm like, oh yeah, cool. And then they got me. So double thumbs up.
Cool. So this one is set to release in Australian cinemas January 13th. Alright, next up.
It's too far away.
Yeah, it is.
It's not up for our award contention, so
2020.
Double thumbs down. Dead to me. I changed my mind.
Alright, next up. Mayor of Kingstown, created by Taylor Sheridan and Hugh Dillon, starring Jeremy Renner, Diane Wiest, Emma Laird, Derek Webster, Taylor Hanley, Carl Chandler, and Aidan Gillen. The McCluskey family are power brokers in Kingston, Michigan, where the business of incarceration is the only thriving industry. Kind of brewed this one up because, you know, created by Taylor Sheridan, who has a very good screenwriting history. Probably best known for what's the
Which one?
The Denis Villeneuve one.
Sicario,
that's it. But also did Hell or High Water and Wind River, and I believe created Yellowstone.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought, it looks interesting, got a good cast. Charles Candler looks really good. Jeremy Renner looks really good. Kind of obviously set in this, around this jail, I guess. Like, that's kind of something I hadn't seen before. Like, well, yeah. Like, a town where the center point is this correctional facility. Yeah, I mean, it's got some interesting things. The only thing holding it back, as a trailer, I think I'm going to give it 1 up, 1 down, but the thing that will hold it back from me actually checking it out, it's on Paramount Plus. And don't know if I'm quite ready to invest in another streaming service right now. Dylan.
Where's this out?
This comes out November 14th.
Okay, so November, I'm getting Paramount Plus because I will get it to check this out. So I guess that is a big plus to it because of course any new streaming service needs something to make people want to spend money to watch it. So far I've not cared for Paramount Plus. I will definitely get this. Obviously that's for the Taylor Sheridan thing, like just wanting to check out his new project, and the cast is really good, and the story and the setting and all that seems really interesting. The trailer I'll give 1 up, 1 down. Like, it got me interested, but I was also just like, I didn't get a good idea about what the actual point was, like, other than it being like prison, crime, family, money, small town. Like, I got like the chess pieces of what's happening, but I'm like, what are you actually trying to say in this show? Like, what are we actually talking about? Because there's lots of different angles you can take with this. You can like go down a road of, these correctional facilities in small towns are often where a lot of people work, and for that means that the cops are basically employed to make sure that there's prisoners coming in often. Yeah, let's go arrest some motherfuckers. Like, is that the direction we're going? Or like what? You know what I mean? Like, there's lots of things, but either way, I'm keen to watch it, and I will be getting Paramount Plus to at least check out the first episode of this. So, or I'll get my free first week and then I'll cancel it because it's a shit show. I don't know. Let's see how we go.
Let's see how it goes. Absolutely. Last trailer, Red Notice, directed by Rawson Marshall Thurber, starring Dwayne Johnson, Ryan Reynolds, Gal Gadot. In the world of international crime, an Interpol agent attempts to hunt down and capture the world's most wanted art thief. Really cool that they're doing Hobbs and Ryan Reynolds chasing down Wonder Woman. Alternate Wonder Woman who's trying to steal art pieces to put in actual museums. Yeah, I mean, it's a fine trailer. It definitely feels like it's a combination of all their shticks in one film. The collaborations that Rawson Marshall Thurber has done with The Rock has not been the most fruitful, in my opinion. Skyscraper was a dumb, overlong film. Central Intelligence was fine. But it being on Netflix makes it an easier option to watch. But yeah, this is a 1 up, 1 down for me. What about you, Dylan?
Double thumbs down. I hated this.
Whoa.
This was like it's just like Ryan Reynolds being Ryan Reynolds and Dwayne Johnson being Dwayne Johnson, and then Gal Gadot being Gal Gadot, I guess. I don't know. Like, I was just like, what is this? Like, is this a movie or is this just like a meme? Like, I just really didn't.
It feels like a search engine algorithm put this movie together.
Yeah, it does just feel like a robot made it. It was like, what are some of the most popular actors, and what are the roles that make them the most popular? Can we just have them like sort of play those? And I was like, why don't fuck this movie? I don't care.
All right,
double thumbs down. Get out of here. I don't care for this. No offense. I like watching these people in other things, but this trailer just seemed like this was like, yeah, just fucking. This was just a movie vomit. This was just squished together pieces of a puzzle. Just fucking let's try and make something that fucking people want to watch. Now get out of here. Shit.
All right. Yeah, so I guess if you do want to see it, it's coming to Netflix November 12th. So look forward to that. All right.
1 out of 10. There's my review.
Wow. All right, let's wrap up this week's episode with our What Do You Want to Watch top 3.
Definitely in the top 3.
So, in honor of the Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings album, music inspired by the movie, much in the vein that they did with the Black Panther album, this week we're doing top 3 movie soundtrack albums. So any album that you can buy that's related to a movie is eligible. We'll say I've been listening to that Shang-Chi album. Pretty good.
It's very good.
I hope this is maybe a thing they do going forward, or is it going to be only exclusively to culturally significant debuts of characters?
That's it.
So I don't know what other demographic. I guess a Latin superhero, they'll do one.
Miss Marvel?
Yeah, Islamic, yeah. Do one inspired by that, yeah, okay. Middle Eastern, yeah. So weird. Dylan, what's your number 3?
My number 3 is Pulp Fiction. The soundtrack for the movie that's directed by Quentin Tarantino. I'm going to be honest, I nearly just wanted to pick old Quentin Tarantino things, so we'll just see how we go. But, I mean, there's just Quentin Tarantino writes his movies around the songs and he puts them in the script and they work so well in the movie and then they make the scenes work and then you listen to the songs and play them over and over. In high school, all I basically did was either listen to a lot of like metal music and then listen to Quentin Tarantino movie soundtracks on repeat. So like the only CDs I owned for a while was just old Quentin Tarantino movie soundtracks. So all these songs, I just relate them to Pulp Fiction. You get the voice. I love the full soundtracks where they work in the clips. I love that. I don't wish they should bring that back more for things. Quite enjoy that. You know, like the clips from the movie. Like the soundtrack starts with "None of you motherfuckers move." This is like Pumpkin and Honey Bunny. Have you seen Pulp Fiction?
Yes, it's been a while,
Okay.
but
Fucking hell. Like the robbery with Tim Roth at the start, like starts with that, and then it gets into the first song. Like, and there's like a couple other clips, you know, like clips from the thing, like the whole like Zed's dead, baby. Like that's just like a thing cut like interlude between the songs and stuff. So and Tarantino does that in all his albums, so quite enjoy that. But anyway, yeah, Pulp Fiction.
yeah, okay. My number 3, it's got to be Space Jam. It's like, well,
Does it?
it does. One of the like highest selling soundtrack ever. You know, songs like "Fly Like an Eagle," "I Believe I Can Fly," "Hit 'Em High," "For You I Will," the Bugs Bunny song "Buggin'," "Basketball Jones," like just the Space Jam theme song. It's like so many tracks that are like, as soon as they come on, I like bob my head and like remember being this stupid 8-year-old kid loving that movie, not knowing any of the faults, not caring what R. Kelly would do later. You know, believing I could fly. You know, I'm pretty sure I own this soundtrack like on CD, and probably played it a lot on like. Pretty sure I like had a stereo in my room, like one of those CD boom boxes or whatever. You know, and just listen to it while doing homework on repeat. So, yeah, I had to put this on my list. Dylan, what's your number 2? Okay.
Side note, when I was younger, my parents got me the soundtrack for Gold Member, but they wouldn't let me go to the cinema and watch the movie. I felt like it was the ultimate fuck you to me. So my introduction to Austin Powers franchise was listening to the soundtrack on repeat, but never having any context. My number 2 is Black Panther, the album music from Inspired By. So, you know, like Kendrick Lamar was the lead producer or whatever, and he's on the majority of the songs. But there's a bunch of other people, of course. Banger of soundtrack. It was my favorite album that year. Obviously, awesome movie, but the soundtrack was even better. It's just generally a great album. That's like, even aside, like, take it out of the movie context, it's just full of really, really good songs. Like, just a great compilation album with various artists with like a lead sort of theme, I guess, or similar sound structure or whatever else. And yeah, it's fantastic. It's the better version of the Shang-Chi one. I'm sorry. Like, it won't beat out. Can't beat old Kendrick. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it's a high bar. My number 2, Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. Probably seeing a running theme of like movies I like, but that soundtrack's pretty fantastic. Post Malone doing Sunflower, and then the What's Up Danger, obviously. The big 2 tracks, but then other songs like Invincible by Amine, Elevate, I really enjoy, and even Familiar and Start a Riot. There, lots of tracks that I enjoyed on that album. So that one was one that was definitely on repeat constantly after the movie came out. I feel like everybody was listening to What's Up Danger like constantly.
What's Up Danger? Yeah.
Yeah, so that's my number 2. Dylan, what's your number 1?
Lol, no, I can't. I've made a decision not to put La La Land on this list, but you motherfuckers know I could. But I decided not to. So my number 1 is actually just another Tarantino soundtrack, Reservoir Dogs. So my favorite Tarantino film, the one that I was obsessed with as a kid, and then I was obsessed with the soundtrack as well. I would edit videos to the songs from this. I would re-edit trailers when I was like learning editing programs. Like anytime someone's moving in slow motion and like just, you can just imagine the camera sideways watching them walk down the street, and a little green bag starts playing, and like all the songs on this are just make me think of the movie. And I still have them. I still listen to this. This is probably my most listened to Tarantino soundtrack. So, like, and Hooked on a Feeling. I want to try and put this. You motherfuckers out there want to be like, oh, Guardians of the Galaxy. Fuck off. Bloody Reservoir Dogs. Get the hell out of here. So, yeah. You fools.
All right. My number 1, Scott Pilgrim vs. the World. Another soundtrack that I had constant on repeat. Of course, it's got the cool Sex Bomb song throughout the soundtrack, but a lot of bands like Metric, Broken Social Scene, T-Rex, Blue Tones, bands that I kind of explored further because of the album and the music in it. Pretty sure I listened through the album before I saw the movie, like just because I was so anticipated, and then I watched the film and it's like, oh, that's where that song is. It played for like 10 seconds in the actual movie. It was on the soundtrack, that kind of thing, which maybe took me out of the film a little bit, but one of my favorite films, great soundtrack. Yeah, I'm probably going to listen to it later because it's been a while. So, yeah. All right, let us know what your top 3 movie soundtrack albums are, or recommendations for further top 3s by going to explosion.com/Twitter, letting us know on Twitter, or you can jump to Discord at explosion.com/Discord. Leave what do you want to watch a review on Apple Podcasts or on Podchaser, or on Twitter, or just tell people about the show, about all the regular episodes, all the crazy spoiler casts we do, and you can tell people about All New Mamacast as well, and check out our spoiler cast again of Shang-Chi over there. And if you like this episode and thought it was worth $1, head on over to our Ko-fi page at explosion.com/support and buy us a coffee. Thank you very much for listening. Until next time, keep watching stuff, I guess.